So Sayadaw said that the path that the yogis are walking on is the path leading to Nibbana. And yogis have the faith on that path, about that path, and that's why they are here practicing to reach their objective. And the yogis take refuge in the Triple Gem, in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. And the yogis recite this 3 times each day before the Dhamma talk. And the yogis understand that there is nothing more precious than the Triple Gems. And they take refuge in the Triple Gems. They consider them as their house. So they return to their house. And they don't forget. They don't forget the teachings. They don't forget to practice the teachings, the guidance of the Buddha. And the yogis are walking on the path, the same path that all Ariyas, enlightened persons in the past and in the future are walking or have walked on this path. And the yogis have this belief. So yogis with that faith, they continue to practice. Some, when they practice by noting the quality of the Buddha, and the quality of the Buddha, the recollection of the quality of the Buddha is one practice, and it is a samatha meditation, that the object of the meditation always stays the same. It doesn't change. And there are 9 qualities of the Buddha, starting with Arahant, Samma Sambuddho, and so on. The path that we are walking on is the path that the Buddha has walked on, and that path is called the Four Noble Truths. And yogis also walk on this path. And through walking this path, yogis offer their practice to the Triple Gem. They recite the formula, Imaya Dhammanu, Dhammapatipatiya, and so on. So, through their practice that conforms with the teachings of the Buddha, they offer this to the Buddha, to the Dhamma, to the Sangha. So this path is what the Buddha taught for 45 years. And the whole purpose of teaching this path is for beings to overcome sorrow and lamentation, and for beings to realize Nibbana. So all the Buddhas in the past have walked this same path, and the Buddhas in the future will walk on this path. But yogis here, they take refuge in the Triple Gem, and they practice mindfulness or wisdom, insight, meditation. Other religions, when people practice, they practice with pure, just faith. But here, yogis practice with understanding, with knowledge. They start out with faith in the teachings, but in their practice arise wisdom or knowledge. And they practice to see things as they are. They practice to see the truth. The Buddha is no longer here, but he left his Dhamma, his teachings. So, if one asks, where is the Buddha? The answer is the Buddha is in the Dhamma, is in his teachings. So for those who practice, who realize the Dhamma, it is said that they also see the Buddha. So yogis practice, and they see mind and matter. And they see that Dhamma, in a sense, they see the Buddha. So yogis are coming here to practice insight meditation or wisdom meditation, and they could see the Buddha. So there are three types of enlightenment: the fully enlightened Buddha, or the Pacceka Buddha, and then the third type is the enlightened people through listening to the teachings and practicing the teachings of the Buddha. Wherever there is the Noble Eightfold Path, there is the Buddha still exists on this earth. So there are enlightened persons such as the Venerable Sariputta, Moggallana, Ananda. They listen to the talks, they practice the teachings of the Buddha, and they become enlightened. So yogis are here practicing, and it is very important for them to practice so that their mind and their body is liberated. They are not controlled by anything. And the teachings of the Buddha is for the liberation of the mind, the freedom of an enlightened person. In the worldly sense, people are looking for freedom, and many countries are fighting to gain the freedom. But the freedom in Buddhism is different. It is the freedom of the mind, and that freedom always exists once one has achieved that freedom. Another important Dhamma is the cause and effect, the understanding of cause and effect. Yogis have the faith in the Buddha and the Dhamma and the teachings that the Buddha preached for 45 years, and they're all about cause and effect. And yogis, through their practice, must see cause and effect. So before you do something, there is the intention to do it. Then with that intention, one acts. Or with the intention, one speaks. Just like before the yogis arriving at this Dhamma hall, where were you? Where was your mind? You must have the intention to come here. And because of that intention to come here, you walk here. So the intention is the cause, and walking, or now you are here, is the effect. And if one practices seriously, one will see just a series of cause and effect happening all the time. It's a whole series that occurs continuously, one after another, nothing but cause and effect. So, in this world, for what we do, who provides the rewards, or who does the punishment? It is cause and effect, the karma. So the Buddha shows us the way. We understand. The Buddha taught, if you ask the question, who caused suffering? Who causes happiness? It's the mind. It's in the mind. So the Buddha taught karma, or cause and effect, and it is very important Dhamma, and that the yogi must remember to note your intention, in Pali, cetana. And the Buddha taught that cetana is karma. So the intention is karma. So just like yogis, when you take your precepts, and after taking your precepts, you recite that may this precept of mine be the condition for magga phala jnanassa. So you have the intention. Your intention is to keep the precept so that the cause is the realization of path and fruition. So the Buddha taught, and it's recorded in the Dhammapada, that the karma, good karma or bad karma, it all depends on the intention, cetana, and it follows beings just like your shadow following you. So yogis have the belief, the faith, and they practice insight meditation so that they could see the Dhamma in cause and effect. And they could see cause and effect because of the practice. People go to school to learn about worldly knowledge. And yogis come here to walk on the path of the Dhamma, to have the knowledge of the Dhamma. And the map for that is very clear. The map for the development of the mind is very clear. We just need to follow it. Just like one goes to school to learn how to read, and first they learn the consonants and the syllables and so on. And then when they have mastered these and they put them together, then they understand the words and they have the knowledge of the words by putting these consonants and syllables together. When one practices the Dhamma, one learns about this body and mind. And this body that consists of the four elements, the earth, water, air, and fire. And yogis put these two together, watching this mind and body constantly. And from that arise knowledge. What kind of knowledge? The knowledge of understanding the truth. And what are the truth? Those four truths. The truth of the sufferings, the truth of the cause of the sufferings, the truth of the cessation of the sufferings, and the truth of the path leading to the cessation of the sufferings. That is the knowledge gained from practicing the Dhamma. And through the practice, yogis will eventually realize the ultimate happiness. And yogis just sit and practice to see the Dhamma. They put together this mind and body, and from that, what comes out? They realize the characteristics of suffering. As long as they put these two things together, they will see the suffering. If they sit, they see suffering. They sit 1 hour, they see the suffering. No matter what we do, when we sit, or when we stand, or when we lie down, when we walk, and if you continue to stay in one posture, you continue to see the suffering. So people, at the beginning, they want to change. So they said, oh, if I sit too long, I think walking is better. And when they walk, they also see suffering, pain, and they change. And people might think that the lying down or lie down posture is an easy posture. So there is one meditation teacher who teaches this method, where he let yogis lie down for a stretch of 4 hours, and they lie down very still in the position just like one staying in a coffin, just like one staying in the coffin, just like a dead body. And in this teaching, if you feel sleepy, then you have to note aloud. And after a while, many yogis have to note aloud. And so when you could hear people noting aloud, you know that they are sleepy. And even in that posture, they feel pain, they feel suffering. Some of them feel such a harsh pain that they think that they are going to die. And in that position, they said, oh, bring my children here because the pain is just so much, I'm going to die. So where does this suffering come from? So people go to Las Vegas to play various games, and they sit for a long time, and they see no pain. Why? That's because in their mind at that time, their mind is full of greed, anger, delusion. So they have no knowledge, no wisdom of the truth. So they forget the truth. They don't see the truth. The mind is disrupted, so they cannot see. So yogis, on the other hand, you come here and you practice, and you have knowledge, and you see suffering, and you say, suffering is real, and we cannot do anything about it. Non-self. We cannot control it. It comes and it goes as it will. So the four elements, earth element, water, air, fire element, they arise and they pass away. And when this body ends, or in other words, when these four elements stop, we die. So when we practice and we train our mind and we see this Dhamma of cause and effect, and when you sit, what do you see? When you suffer, what do you see? Does the Buddha come and rescue you? Or can you wish and achieve anything through your wish? You can't. You just practice on your own. So you have to walk on the path to liberate yourself. So it's important for yogis to practice, to be able to realize and understand the Dhamma of cause and effect. And you have to be able to see it very clearly. And you see it clearly when you see this body and mind, nama rupa, clearly. And in order to see that clearly, you have to practice continuously. Do not be forgetful. Do not forget to note this body and mind continuously, meticulously. Sometimes when people go into the forest and they are fearful, and they are taught that when you are fearful, you could note the qualities of the Buddha, the 9 qualities of the Buddha, starting with Arahant and so on. Or you note the qualities of the Dhamma, or you note the qualities of the Sangha. And then the fear will go away. However, for yogis, when you practice insight meditation, if you are fearful, you note fear, fear, fear. And that fear goes away. If your mind wanders, you note wandering, wandering, wandering. And that wandering mind goes away. If your abdomen rises, you note rises, rises, rises. And then at the end, it goes away. So you deal with the object directly. If the object is fear, you face it directly. And because of it, you face your obstacle directly. And through that practice, you will come to realize that you destroy the 3 unwholesome roots of attachment, anger, and delusion. So in the practice of insight meditation, you have a very effective weapon, and that weapon is knowledge. So yogis should continue to practice. You are on the right path. You need to make effort. Don't be forgetful. In one day, you want to note, you want to be mindful as much as you could. You are here today practicing because in previous lives you have practiced before. If you have not practiced in the past, you will not be here today. Being able to practice, being able to realize the suffering, be able to sit and see this mind and body is very difficult. People who are born with one root or two root, it's impossible for them to see mind and matter like yogis here. Only people who are born with three roots, meaning that those in their previous life, when they pass away, their final consciousness has no greed, anger, and delusion in them, meaning that they have three wholesome roots. Only those could practice and see mind and matter like yogis here. So yogis are here and you are practicing. And when you practice, you have to reach your destination. You already have a map. So just continue. You will reach your destination. Just like the law of cause and effect, you act today and the result will come. And it's very important to see that. It's important for yogis to practice and see clearly mind and matter. When this body is hot or cold, or when this mind is hot or cold, yogis realize that they are as such. How? Because of mindfulness. So yogis must rely on mindfulness, must activate mindfulness all the time. If you are forgetful, you die. If you remember, you live. That's why the Buddha said, always remember. Don't be forgetful. Appamadena sampadeta. Just like an engine of the airplane, if you turn it off for a short period of time, what happened to it? It will change direction. It will move somewhere else. Similarly, if you drive your car and you turn it off momentarily, you will start losing control. So yogis should practice continuously. Don't be forgetful. When you walk, you know that you're walking. When you stand, you know that you are standing. When you sit, you know that you are sitting. When you come to the interview and you report, during my sitting, I have pain. I observe rising and falling, and I see clearly. Sometimes I do not see clearly. So you remember all these things. You note all these things. So you should continue. You should move forward. You should practice correctly and continue to move forward. There is no new lesson. The lesson is, do not be forgetful. You must have mindfulness continuously. And by doing so, you will have a penetrative knowledge, a deep knowledge that will let go of things. And you need to go deep into your body and mind so that wisdom arises. The meditation teacher, once you have the map, once you know how to practice, they only encourage you and they remind you back and forth. Do not be forgetful through different ways. That's all they could do. You will have to do the work. In the teachings of noting the rising and falling of the abdomen, it sounds very simple. But you need to sit to really understand. Not one rising, not one falling is the same. They are all different. So at the beginning, when yogis watch them, they might think that they are the same, but once they realize the Dhamma, they are very interested in noting the rising and falling of the abdomen. They're very interested once they have seen the Dhamma. They understand the Dhamma. So yogis should continue. You already have the map, and do not be forgetful. So Sayadaw ends the talk today, and through the practice, may all yogis be protected by the Dhamma, and may yogis be able to reach liberation